What is up? And welcome back to yet another episode of the Camera Junkie livestream. My name's Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, MCJHD. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Um, and where I always remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. If it is your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to introduce yourself into the chat. Words are hard today. And so you can get the nice Camera Junkie Crew welcome, so you can just start hanging out. And as always, the tradition is around here that we always go ahead and check out to see who are the first junkies in the crew in the chat. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, where's my mouse? There we are. All right, so we have Parker Jennings in the house saying hello to everyone. We have Andrew Seal. How you doing, Andrew? Nice of you to catch the actual live. Super cool. We also have Randy saying hello to everyone. Mr. Moderator, greetings. He's also saying what's up to Andrew. Yeah, Andrew is from the other side, from the Creative Fam and Brandon Washington and his live streams and everything like that. So super cool to see you here as well. All right. Well, that's it as far as the first members, and I know the rest will be trickling in. But yeah, today, well, because of my life, or a bit of a life update, it's so busy. There's so many things on my plate that honestly I haven't been able to indulge the way that I normally do and enjoy to actually take my spare time to research and do the latest and greatest of like what's going on in the camera world as a camera junkie, and I just haven't had the time. If I have had free time, it's actually had to been dedicated to just resting up because of how tired I've been. But not really complaining, because it's also very lucky for me to be able to do these things. So I'm very, very fortunate. With that being said, is just haven't had the time to do the research that I wanted to do, that I like to do, better said, for the weekly live stream. So today, with the new place, right, and new circumstances, I'm gonna take a different spin on the way that we do the live stream. I usually have something set up where I have, I have dedicated time to what I want to produce. And today we're gonna do it a bit more on the fly. I would say a couple of weeks ago, it was probably more over a month ago, that we talked about Fuji emulations on Sony cameras, and I said that when I got to the studio, it was something that I wanted to implement. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of reverse things, and the way that I usually end the show, which is Cities Ga, today we're gonna kind of start there, because we're gonna watch a video of Mr. Cities Ga, and we're gonna go from there to see if we can then emulate or put those Fuji like emulations into our camera. So a little bit of a kind of reverse start, but we're gonna start with Cities Ga. And just says, I set an alarm to make sure I didn't miss it. That's so cool. And look at it, it's all the way from Perth. That's so cool. Well, once again, thank you for hanging out. All right. So what are we gonna do? We're actually going to do Cities Golf. Oh, well, let me get Andrew's comment so we can see the. There we go. Cities Golf. Channels that I think you should go and watch. All right. And if I hit that correctly, that did not go to where it was supposed to. So let's fix it on the fly. We're going to hit the share screen. And you know what? Demo mode. Boom. You're seeing what I'm seeing. The hecticness, right? And go with Google Chrome, right? Boop. There we are. And that's our moment of behind the scenes. All right. So this week's Cities Got is Mr. Bray Gray. And it's a new channel. It was actually given to me sort of the same way. This is a channel that you should go and watch, by Mr. Doc Rock. So he's the one who actually sent me down this rabbit hole with this gentleman, and he seems to be an honorary camera junkie. As you can tell, his content is based around Fuji, I guess point and shoots, because he likes the Ricos and Sony cameras. So that's where we come across this one video that we're seeing right here, which is Fuji colors on Sony. And that's what I made today's episode about. So we're going to watch this video together and then see if we can implement that. But as you can see, as you continue to go throughout his content, well, he's right up there with brand agnostic, from Fuji to Ricoh to Sony's. He's got a passion for photography, as you can see. So this is this week's City's Gone, Mr. Bray Gray. And I just saw the beginning part of the video, and I already liked the way that it was being built and being portrayed. So let's go ahead and get into that together. Let me go ahead and check to see if we don't have it. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and do that right here. Now, I do need to do something else over here. Switch this up because I need to bring down the volume of the music. Okay, so that's, you barely hear nothing. That's not even registering. There's like a noise gate, I'm guessing, right? Let me see if I have that turned on the Rodecaster. Okay, I deactivated the noise gate. So that shouldn't have been active on there, so that should be a bit better. We should be getting better audio now. Yep, and it's not trying to cut it off. All right, nice there. Another lesson on the fly. We're putting everything together as we set everything up. Oh, that's ugly. Let's minimize this so that can look correct, right? There we go. All right. Now that we're there, we should be able to hear this video. Yep. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna end up pausing the music altogether. Even though that was a good thing that I fixed it on the fly, we're just gonna pause it and let's go ahead. And hopefully his music is not copyrighted against the things that I've been listening, but we're not gonna worry about that. All right.
What up, good people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope all of y'all are doing well out there. So what if I told you that you can get a Fuji look on your Sony camera? Say what? I can get a Fuji look on my Sony camera? That's right, you can. Well, hey man, don't keep no secrets. Tell me how and tell me now. I'm getting to it, man. Let me talk to the people.
Let's start this over again. I tried to put it, you know what? Let's readjust it. I'm gonna put it for my display. I'm speaking out loud. Once again, let's go into live demo so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going back here to the screen share and to the setting. Instead of being Google Chrome, I'm going to put it into my display, right? This would be my secondary display, right? Is that what I'm seeing? No. Okay. Tertiary? Tertiary. Okay. And now this should allow me now to just get out of live demo mode. And if I hit this full screen, yes, we get full screen. There we go. Perfect. Now we're set. We'll forget about all that. We'll just rewind it. Just gonna leave it there. And we're gonna hit play.
What up, good people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope all of y'all are doing well out there. So what if I told you that you can get a Fuji look on your Sony camera? Say what? I can get a Fuji look on my Sony camera? That's right, you can. Well, hey man, don't keep no secrets. Tell me how and tell me now. I'm getting to it, man. Let me talk to the people. I'm going to get to it. Let's get into it.
See, that's all I saw, and I was like, all right, this seems good already.
Now, to get us started, some of you might be wondering, why would you want the Fuji look on a Sony camera? Others of you who clicked on this video may already know the reason. Sony has a reputation for providing a really crisp, sharp image. It's also been known to be too clean, too clinical, a little soulless, a little lifeless. I don't think it's that. I think it's just more commercial versus Fuji, which is a little bit more narrative, more filmic, more cinematic looking. But Sony just has a cleaner look to it overall. And so what we're really trying to do is take the clean commercial look of a Sony camera and really try to convert it into a more cinematic, filmic, narrative look that Fuji provides, all in camera. And so there's actually two ways to do this. The first way is a little bit more involved, and that involves using Sony's picture profiles. This is your S-Log3s, your S-Cine tones, basically the looks you really want to use for video, but you can also apply it to photos as well. And with this method, you can actually be a little bit more precise in how you're dialing in the look, but it's a little bit more technical. Like look at things like knee, like gamma, very technical terms that takes a little while to understand. Also with picture profiles, it's going to bake the look not only into video, not only into your JPEGs, but also into your raw images. And so you wouldn't really be able to revert your image back to that clean Sony look if you wanted to start from square one and just re-edit it to your own liking. Now, the second way is the way that I'm gonna focus on, and that's using Sony's new feature called Creative Looks. This way is a lot more straightforward, and it just bakes the look into your JPEGs. Your raw files will still be that same clean Sony look, so if you want to go back and edit those, you can. And technically you can shoot video with the Creative Looks on, but it just doesn't afford you the editability of shooting in something like an S-Log3 or S-Cine tone when you want to push and pull in the color grade. But getting more into Creative Looks, what they are is basically Sony's version of Fuji film simulations, but they don't actually leverage film stocks like Fuji cameras do. But they do allow you to give a different look to your photos that's outside of the Sony standard look. Now, most Sony E-mount cameras, they do have the standard creative look, so everything from standard to natural to portrait to sepia to black and white. Most Sony cameras have those creative looks. But recently, Sony added some new creative looks to their most recent Sony cameras. I actually put a list of those cameras here on the screen just so
that's perfect, because I was just looking at it, I was like, does my camera fall within this category? And the one that I am using right now is the Sony A7C Mark II, which is the first one on the list, which is here. So we should be good.
you can check and compare and see if your model has the new creative looks. But those looks are the FL look, the IN look, the SH look, and the VV2 look. And what I love about these new looks is that they actually get you a lot closer to getting the Fuji film simulation look on your Sony camera. But you can get it even closer. Each of these new creative looks has a base look, but then you can go in and change things like contrast. You can change highlights, shadows, fade, saturation, sharpness, that's a big one, sharpness range, and clarity. And in addition to modifying the creative look settings, you can go into your Sony menus and change things like your dynamic range optimizer and playing around with your white balance in order to get the more specific Fujifilm recipe look that you're going for. Notably, there are some settings in your Sony camera that are missing that won't allow you to fully realize the Fujifilm look, namely settings like grain, color chrome effects, and color chrome effects blue. So just know you won't get all the way to the Fuji look, but you'll get dang near close. And speaking of getting dang near close to the Fuji look, I just want to shout out a photographer and fellow YouTuber. His name is Veristani Alex. He has actually done a lot of the legwork in creating Fuji film simulations on.
You see, actually, I think he's the first video that I saw, or the one that Doc sent me, or vice versa. But oh, what's up? Randy says he's catch the rest of the stream on the rewind. Thanks for coming in, Randy. We'll catch you on the next one.
on Sony cameras. He's done this with both picture profiles and with creative looks. And he's even made a website about it where he's documented his experience, documented his findings, and also provided some recipes for others to use on their Sony cameras. And he was definitely a good resource when it came to understanding how to use creative looks and really get a starting point when I started to create some looks of my own. So I will definitely leave links to his YouTube channel and website down in the description so y'all can check him out as well. But as far as actually getting out and using these creative looks on actual photo shoots, I took my Sony a7C II out for various shoots at various locations, shot in various different scenarios, and I was out there just experimenting and I learned a lot. For starters, I will say that the creative looks workflow on a Sony camera is not as set it and forget it, not as streamlined as the Fujifilm simulation, Fujifilm recipe workflow on a Fuji camera. And the reason why is because some of the settings are actually divided away from the creative look. On a Fujifilm recipe, you can bake in things like your dynamic range and your white balance, but with creative looks, the white balance and the dynamic range settings are separate, so you would have to modify those things separately as you're out and about shooting. What I would recommend is to take those three settings, your creative looks, your dynamic range optimizer, and your white balance, and put those settings in your quick function menu so that you can access them quickly and change them on the fly. Another thing that I did was I really dialed in all of my creative look settings, and then I mapped them to my custom settings on my PASM dial. So number one was actually the traditional Sony look. I wanted to keep that as a constant, but then for the number two setting, I dialed in my FL and my IN creative looks. And then on the number three setting, I dialed in my VV2 and my SH creative looks. And then I also set some custom white balances for myself. So I had my regular daylight, my 5500 Kelvin, but then for my second custom white balance, I dialed in something that was a little bit warmer, had a little bit more amber tones to it. And then for my third custom white balance, I dialed in something that was a lot cooler. So I had a little bit more of a teal look going. And so just playing around with those settings really allowed me to get some different looks while I was out and about shooting.
That's a nice shot right there. I like that one.
Now, to be honest with y'all, I did not use all of the creative looks equally. I mainly used the FL and IN creative looks. There were times where there was a little bit more color in the scene where I decided to use the VV2, the vivid creative look, and it really worked out well, especially at the flower fields. But I mainly stayed in that FL and IN creative look. And I think I was able to get some really good results. I will say, I'm not gonna say that my images looked exactly like a Fuji image, but there were times as I was going through the images, culling through them, I was seeing images that I was like, that looks like classic chrome, or that looks like nostalgic.
Like that one. That one looks like images that I get from my Fuji camera.
Or that looks like some other Fujifilm simulations, and it got really close. The creative looks really allowed me to desaturate some of the colors in my shots, fade the blacks, dial the sharpness all the way down, which is a huge factor in Sony images, and even apply some color shifts with my custom white balances. And I will say the images that I was able to get from it straight out of camera definitely looked less clinical and definitely had more character to them. And the good thing is I still have the raw files, and these creative looks aren't really built into the raw files. So I still have that clean Sony image in the raw file. I can go back and edit that if I want to do that. But then I have my baked in looks where I can just grab the JPEG, quickly share it to social media, or share with one of my friends or a model or someone. And looking at the raw images next to the straight out of camera JPEGs, you can really see the effects that the creative looks are having as far as moving the images from that traditional Sony clean commercial look towards that Fujifilm
Elusive Destroyer. That was weird. You look like a brown Kanye in the thumbnail. That's a first. I usually get what is it, DJ Khaled, because of the beard, but I'll take it.
creative, narrative, cinematic type of look to your photos. So I think it's the best of both worlds. I cannot say that would be the case in the opposite direction. I think you can get a Fuji look in a Sony camera, but I don't think you can get a Sony look in a Fuji camera, if that makes sense. But yeah, y'all, I think the creative looks feature is a very viable option for helping you to get the Fuji look on your Sony camera. I have by no means perfected using creative looks. I'm gonna keep using it. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep experimenting just with different settings. And yeah, I think ultimately I will get that perfected recipe one of these days. But what do y'all think? Do you think creative looks would be useful for you you on your Sony camera as far as
I
getting
think
that
so.
Fuji look, getting different looks, getting a less clinical or less commercial Sony look on your camera? Go ahead and let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll be checking them out. But with that said, that's the video, y'all. If you like this video, go ahead and drop it a like. Drop the like. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that button. Go ahead and hit that notification bell to stay informed on any future content I got coming up. Notify yourself. Unbelievable. And until next time, y'all, I will catch y'all later.
That was fun. Whoa. Commercials. Let's not do that. That's so invasive. I will never do the incognito mode again for watching videos because it totally negates my YouTube premium when we get commercials, which is surprising that we didn't get a commercial throughout the middle of his video. But man, my apologies for the invasive commercial. For all of us headphone wearers, that was messed up. Okay. All right. So he talked about it, but you know what? Let's go ahead and let's click in here. I'm gonna pause the video and let's see if we get more information. Okay, because we're gonna go to this site. Perfect. All right, so this is the website that has the simulations and the look, the instant feedback, faster workflow. And I agree with this. Actually it's something that I haven't even done, but now that I think about it, I'm like, that makes so much sense because when I'm shooting with my Sony cameras, I'm always shooting JPEG and RAW, right? That's the way that I have it set up. But a lot of times my JPEGs end up looking like, or better said, my raw images, once I'm done editing them, end up looking a lot like my JPEGs. Um, Maybe a bit sharper and easier to edit, especially for portraits. But nonetheless, if I want to carry around a Fuji camera for these aesthetics, but then I still want my Sony for its clinical sharpness, might as well set some of these picture profiles up in my Fuji style, and then I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. Because, like he had mentioned, right now with this setup, there's a possibility that we can get images not exactly, but very similar to Fuji on a Sony camera, and still with the raw files, have the ability to change it to your heart's content in post production. And now with that same mindset, you won't be able to get that same clinical sharpness and the look of a Sony on a Fuji camera. That's not really possible. So it's almost like, hey, when I first got into Sony really good was because I was able to bring my Canon lenses over to that system, and with an adapter utilize the power of the Sony camera, the back end, on the glass that I already had. And now I'm full on, a lover of Zeiss lenses like I've always been, but the Zeiss in the Sony ecosystem just works phenomenal. So that's where I'm at, and I'm very happy with it. But now to take some of my favorite lenses, including my vintage lenses, right? Like my, I'll pull one out right here. Right, let's see. I should be able to have my top down, right? Boop, there we go. So this is a Tamron, I believe. Let's see. Yep, a Tamron 28 millimeter full frame f2.8. Right now I have it on my Nikon mount, but as you can see, that's how simple it is, and it's just basically a pass through to be able to utilize this lens. So I have one of these same, how do you say it? Excuse me, Fotga. I think that's the way the brand, Fotga. They're very inexpensive. I get them from Amazon from like 13 to 15 bucks, all metal, and they allow me to put on my thread M42 lenses, because these are all old school threaded That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even know how old this lens is. It's probably older than me. But at the same time, to be able, oh, that got some stuff on it. I got to clean that lens off. But at the same time, to be able to take a vintage lens like this, throw it on the camera with the film simulations or emulations, and boom, you're off and running. You can get a lot of images that, like I said, could be very comparable. And I think that that's would be the missing piece, that if you can throw a little bit of halation or softness from an older lens and add that to these emulations through the Sony cameras, I think you could have a really good setup. So let's see exactly what we're looking at. To go Provia. Hmm. This is pretty cool. He's just kind of giving you the recipes right there. So let's see which one we're looking at. So, oh, I forgot to switch the scene. Sorry, guys. Let's go back to that one. No, that wasn't it. There we go. All right. So now, hopefully you guys are able to see like the differences in the pictures that he's taken, right? But if you're familiar, Velvia, as you can see, the blacks are like really deep. You could barely see the difference in transition between her hair and the blacks in the background, right? So that just kind of, it all meshes in together, and it's actually it's almost like it's a limiting of the dynamic range. So even though the Sony cameras have the capability to like determine the different colors and shades of light between the background blacks and the blacks in her hair, then that's where you'd be able to tell the difference, and that's what they call the clinical sharpness. And with that clinical sharpness, this kind of removes that fact, and you can see it's almost like shrinking down the dynamic range and making things a little bit more squashed to get this kind of velvia look. Okay, this is Astia. Okay, so this is a classic chrome. Yeah, as you can see, classic chrome, it's very washed out. It's a very flat look, but that is classic chrome. And some of the black and white that you get from Fuji cameras are, they're just like yeah, they got a certain look to them. That's why. So let's see how close we can get with our Sony cameras. Hey, Peter's here. Peter just commented. It says, "Hey, Lewis, laying here watching you. Hi to the big guy too. Say hi to Aiden. Aiden's been doing good. He's been doing really good here at the new place, Peter. So thanks for saying hi and stopping in. But absolutely, Aiden's just been doing really good. He just, on another note, he just gave me one of the biggest scares of my life, but it's because he's doing better. So he steps out of his room and is handing me his snack, bowl, like saying like, "Yo, I want some more snacks," like asking me for it. But he stood up on some boxes that I had over here, right, to get to the bowl. So it's a great job that he's standing up on his own and that he's like getting these things. And I'm like, that's amazing. It just so happens that with all the makeshift chaos going on around here, the box that he decided to lean on was the one that I had a drill, well, a screwdriver, power driver on top of it. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Good job!" And I tried to not to panic as I was rushing towards him, and that's like when the box gave out and the drill hit the ground, and that's when Aiden was like starting to fall, and I was able to make it there on time to just grab him and let all the things else fall without him getting hurt whatsoever. But it was like I saw the catastrophe happening in like slow motion while I'm rushing to get there. It was very interesting, but I'm just looking forward to having all the boxes put away and things like that, so things like that won't happen. But yeah, a little bit of a scare just before we went live, but crisis averted. But he's doing great, and yeah. And you know what, Peter? If you give me a call, I will have a very interesting story that I know that you will actually appreciate a lot. But I'm just not gonna talk about it on the live. So, um, nice seeing you here. But let's continue with checking this out. And now, you know what? Now is when we need the music. So let's go back to Epidemic Sound. Why are you doing that when I'm anyway? Let's hit play. There we go. Minimize this again. There we go. Okay, Pro Neg, Standard, Classic Negative Film, Nostalgic Neg, Eterna Film Simulation. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. For video, right? If I'm gonna pick one, is gonna be between the Provia and the Velvia. And in this case, because it's more of a dramatic look, I'm gonna go with the Velvia. So we're gonna go ahead and try this crushed blacks setup, and we're gonna see how we set it up. So this is a vivid creative look recipe. All right. So you know what? Let's go back to the overhead, right? Boom. Let's see what we got here. Actually, we don't even need to do that. We're gonna go into the function menu, and right here, my first one, even though I haven't adjusted it, actually, you know what? Let's take this out of the way. I'm at 91%. Okay. It's not gonna die on the live. All right. So let's move that there. Let's get a better angle so that you guys can see what we're doing. White ceilings don't help right now. Okay. Remove the glare so we could at least see it. All right. And what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in. Which camera is this? Meet 2. Okay, the Meet 2. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna hit the FN menu, and right here, as you can see, we have our creative looks. I can go into the menu to change this setup, which I would recommend, right? So that, like he said, if you're gonna get into doing this, then you will have like your white balance and what else did he said? I think your ISO set up there with the creative look so that you could adjust those on the fly. But if you go into the creative looks, I'm just gonna go to the top. We have our standard look, we have our portrait, natural, vivid, vivid 2. Interesting. I'm going back and forth between vivid and vivid 2, and what I'm noticing is that the only difference, let me get a lens cap to keep that there. What I'm noticing is I think the sharpness over here. So you can see it jumps between a 1 from vivid, right? Oh, I totally jumped. Where is it? From Vivid 2, it's at an 8, and Vivid 1, it's a 1. And that is exactly what? Clarity. So I guess more clarity? Okay. Yep. Okay, then we have film look. And these are the new ones that Bray Gray was talking about. The instant, soft high key, black and white. No, it wasn't that. We have standard, film, instant. This is instant plus. Interesting. Soft high key, vivid 2, and black and white. Sepia. Yeah, there's a lot of creative looks now. You know, I haven't touched creative looks since I first got my A6100, so that was a long time ago. Yeah, so let's go ahead and check this out. Let's put in this recipe. Then once we're done with putting in this recipe, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to connect this camera and then see if we can have a visual of what it looks like on the live stream. Okay, so this one we have to put it into Vivid Creative Look. So Vivid 1. Okay, the first thing, it says contrast, and it says contrast +3. Okay, so we just put the +3. The next is highlights, and we put +2 as go for the recipes. Shadows, see, this is where we're crushing those shadows, and it's -8 on the recipe here. It says fade 0. The next one is saturation. It says +3. Sharpness, we're going to bring that down to 0. Sharpness range, 1, down to 1. And clarity to 0. Okay, that's what it says is the first vivid look. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. And that should have that look baked in. Now, let's also check the white balance. I believe I do have it under. No, right here I have white balance. So automatic white balance, white priority. That's exactly how I have it. So as you can see, automatic white balance, AWB, right? And you see that it says auto white, because I have it there. If you don't know what we're talking about, that little arrow right here, you just click to the right, and as you can see, that's where you're able to change the features for the white balance. Actually, no, it's in the menu. This is just, I know my Sony cameras, and you know what? Color filter A1. Yeah, let's reset this. A1, okay. That's exactly where they wanted that. So that is a big key because that has to do with the white balance. Now, the white feature on the auto white balance, that's actually set in through the menu. So let's go ahead and see if I can demonstrate that. I'm hovering it up there. This is a time where I need to take a look. White balance. Okay, so you see the priority is there. See, priority set in auto white balance. These are the, it's usually on standard, right? I'll bring that back up. It's usually on standard. You have ambiance, and then you have white. So I've always set this to white, and that's how I have it. So you see, you do that in the menu inside of the white balance in the exposure and color tab. So exposure and color, white balance, automatic white balance priority set, and I've set that to white. So that's usually how I have it, you know, myself. So it just so happens that was exactly what was needed for this recipe. So now we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna hit the function key, right? So our automatic white balance is set to white priority. We also did the color filter, right? And we changed it to A1. Actually, you know what? I'm showing you all of this, but let's go back to that other shot so that you can see what I'm talking about, right? These are the settings that I'm talking about. This right down there, right? So as you can see, everything that I had done on my camera was set exactly to that, the white auto balance, and we just did the entire recipe. And that was pretty easy. You understand? I gotta give it up to these guys. I'm gonna make sure that I put their information in the links and in the description, because you got to give them all the credit. This was absolutely easy. So now that that's set, right, now let's go ahead and see about actually connecting this camera real quick so that we can see the effect that we've done to this, right? Okay, so now I'm setting it up to video mode. Okay. All right. As soon as I put it into video mode, I've lost the creative look in the function menu. So I was just looking for it. But as you can see, this is exactly the recipe that I put into it. I might have to just try it in the photography mode, just to start, just to make sure that I'm getting it right. Oh yeah, so I have a creative LUT on there, so I'm not gonna start messing with taking that off. I just switched it back into photo mode, and we're gonna go ahead and connect it. All right, so okay, we have Nicky's. He said no for some reason. Then he said, Peter Greg, thank you. Says open gate should be standard. And he thinks that the Fuji X-H2 has it. I don't think Fuji has touched into open gate, but if that's your cup of tea, so be it. I think if it's part of your workflow, then of course you're gonna need it. Most people aren't into the open gate workflow. I know I'm not necessary right now. I'm just messing with Fuji stuff, and we're gonna go ahead and check that out in comparison. Okay, so what do I need? I need an HDMI cable. I've been doing some cleaning. And when you're moving around so many things, you sometimes tend to forget where you might have put it. Oh no, we're getting the low disk space message. All right, we'll survive. All right, bingo. All right, so we found our HDMI cable. Oh, so Peter actually corrected it. It says, hey Nikki, I'm doing all right. He says the Fuji XH2, he doesn't have it. The Fuji XH2S does have it. Okay, good to know. As far as OpenGate, so first we're connecting HDMI cable to said camera. Okay. And I'm gonna have to deactivate this camera over here. Actually, you know what? Come back to me. There we go. Okay, we move that to there. It might not have a clean feed, but we're gonna find out now. Okay, that's much better. Let's change this to... Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the image. We're gonna go to it, but the ISO is way too high. But I'm gonna go into what I call my producer mode, which is taking off all the bells and whistles, right? And this is gonna allow me to put the image side by side. What just happened? Okay, this, I think I got it. this here. There we go. And that is the Fuji baked-in look. That is completely different. Let's go ahead and adjust it just a bit. Okay, and just move the ISO to 400. Autofocus. That is definitely not a look that I like. That is incredibly off. Yeah, let's switch that up right away. Yeah, like I almost don't even know where to start since I look a little red. Yeah, I bet I do. Cause this is the thing. This is the baked in look, right? But just explaining, because we're doing this on the fly. This is not what I'm seeing on the back of the camera at all. Oh, you know what this could be? And I'm just saying it right now. This is most likely the Ecamm has. I already adjusted colors on it. So here, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go back into live demo mode, right? So now here in my camera effects. So let's see my Camlink 4K, right? This. The S-Log, you see? This guy right here, I was like, what is messing up? Okay, so this is what it's supposed to look like, okay? So that's the difference. So on your left, right over here, right? You're seeing my A7C R2, right? Yeah, A7C. I am running together on all the names, not the C. The A7R Mark II. That's what we're looking at right now. It's an analog profile for video. And I have the S-Log, the Cinecolor S-Log 2 profile on that camera just the same way. So this S-Log file that you're seeing right here is actually for the camera to the left. Now that we've taken that off, I'm gonna adjust the autofocus to make sure that it is correct. It's off. This thing's moving too much. And get a sharp picture of myself so that we can compare. What is Ecamm is my computer ran out of space. What is happening with the zoom? sharper. But now I'm not sure. Actually, I set it to the microphone, right? Let me set the microphone back a little bit. We're doing this on the fly, guys. Okay. Okay, so now we're seeing the differences. This to the left, let's get out of live demo mode. Now what we're seeing, now the video sync with the microphone, that's going to be set up to this camera here, the one that I usually use for my live stream. But there's a huge difference in the look. Definitely, I would say more Canon-esque in this picture profile, because definitely heighten like the oranges, you know, and the warm tones that are definitely being pulled out of the Fuji. All right, Peter's giving some recommendations here. I look baked. Peter says, I lost track. What camera is showing on the screen on the right side? Picture looks good, but would be nicer if broadcast with a lower contrast, in my opinion. Says, and saturation down a click or two. All right, Peter, let me show you exactly what we were doing. We were using recipes. So we just threw this in exactly how it was set up right over here. Right? So these recipes right here on this website are for different picture profiles. And we went with the Velvia film, which, you know, as you can see, is like crushing the blacks and things like that. And these are the settings. So that's what we just put into the camera. We set it up on the Sony a7C Mark II, and that's the picture that was on to the side. So if we go back to this view, so to your left is my Sony a7R Mark II, and that's the one that you're looking at here. And this one right here is the A7C Mark II, and that's the one with the Fuji profile. Oh, that's driving me crazy. At least the lines are matching now, because if not, forget it. Okay, I couldn't not see it. Okay, so let's go ahead, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click down the desaturation. The contrast, I think I'm gonna leave the contrast because that is the look. I believe if you can see, like, what's happening right now is exactly what's happening in the picture. So let me demonstrate. Right now I'm gonna go full screen on this one right here. Okay, so this look right here, if you can see, the black from my beard is meshing into the shadow on my shirt, where it's almost like you can't distinguish where the end of my beard is and where the shadow begins, right? So you're just seeing like a darkness all the way there, and that is part of it. So that's where the contrast, I'm gonna leave it alone, but I do think clicking down the saturation a bit might leave a little bit to it, because if we go back to that same shot that I had just mentioned, right, the watchdog shot, right, we come over here. If we look, that's exactly what we're seeing with her hair right in this area. See, where you can't see the difference between the black of her hair comparative to the black in the shadow. It's all crushed in together. It's like limiting the dynamic range. So that's exactly what we're seeing out of that shot over here when I go back to it. See, and that's exactly what we're getting here. But now I'm looking a lot more orangey, a lot more warm than she is. So that's what we're going to try to get to. And yeah, we're to the hour. So let's go ahead and check it out. Saturation, it's at +3. I'm not going to put it at +2. Take that down one notch. And let's go ahead and see exactly what we will do. I pressed the autofocus button, and yeah, and that's what we're looking at now. And now, you know, messing in eCam, I'd probably counteract, that's the word, some of this oranginess, right? Okay. That actually looks pretty good right there. And that's leaving like the warm tones that it's got. That's not a bad look. And right now it is in photo mode. So you know what? Let me go ahead and digitally zoom to fill in the shot. Bam. There we go. Now we filled in the shot, and I have a little bit of a extra monitor in this shot. So squeeze that over here. Yeah. And now we can really do the comparison. I'm gonna squeeze it once. Okay. And then I put the TV back in it, but there we go. There we go. Not too bad. And we'll add the original shot as well. It's flat. That's the look. Now you tell me what you guys think. Because in all sincerity, I think that if you're just doing this one shot and this is a look that you like, then just by going with this one singular shot here where you don't have anything to compare it to, this will be a more than adequately good shot. Like this is what we call GE. Like the yellow, or not the yellow, the orange from the eCam sign really pops in the background. But I would just have to see exactly how I would be able to set up this creative look on the camera in video mode. Because right now this is picture mode, which allows me to see the HDMI, but at the same time is not giving me the complete control over the video side. And that's exactly what this looks like. Maybe next week, if I have it set correctly, I'll do something similar to both of these cameras, the main A7R2 and the A7C Mark II, and see if we can get them close enough to actually run one of these Fuji type of looks on the live stream next week. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Like I said, we've kind of flipped things a bit over. We started with Cities Gone and we ended up here. Actually, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm reading the comments over here, but this is the active camera. So, but yeah, we did it. We're well past the hour. As always, guys, I want to thank you for taking the time and being here with me. Like I said, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And this truly makes it my favorite place to be every single Saturday night. Now, like Paul had reminded me earlier today, this is episode 249. So this is 249 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream without skipping a beat. And like my friend Andrew here, who set an alarm. What is he saying right now? Says maybe a bit less dramatic, but closer to something cool. There you go. Absolutely. But like he did, he set an alarm. He's watching all the way from Perth, Australia, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. We're getting Camera Junkie Crew from all parts. I've even had some people, you know, watching in from Japan. So this is even further than that, all the way from Australia. So If you want to be part of this crew, it's very simple. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, hit a like on the video, and like Andrew did, set an alarm for next week Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, while we're doing episode 250 of the Camera Junkie live stream, on our way to episode 262. And 262, if I did my math correct, is the number that we reach when we reach 5 years consecutive of this Camera Junkie live stream. And guys, like I said, it's my favorite place to be every Saturday night. And with the chaos of my life as it's been in the recent month or month-ish, I can't thank you enough for making this my break from reality, right? My solace, where I can just come hang out with like-minded individuals who have a passion for photography, video, and all this nerdy stuff with cameras, and we get to hang out and do it for 5 years now. So you guys are the best, and you make this what it is. So as always, I always tell you to take care of yourselves and each other, and I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces as we do it all over again next week. So until then, talk to you.